Okay, first tabletop game with Blood Bowl 2020 was my Necro against the boys humans. So we played on a new pitch and we first time playing with the 2020 rules. So I was using these Necro guys, which are teamed by Labmasu, with a couple of Games Workshop wraiths in there. I took guard on the two wraiths. I took block on a golem. I took block on both wolves and had a block ghoul as well. 3-year-olds takes it to 115, but just with 11 players. Um, so yeah, first time with the sidestep and foul appearance on the wraiths. And I'll warn you in advance that I forgot foul appearance almost all the way through. This is the roster, so with the new 5k increments. For those who want to see it, that's available on my team builder, which you can get, and I'll sort of link it below. This is a human team, so this is BB 2016 humans with a couple of, well, not couple, complete female head swaps, so statuesque miniatures head swaps, I think. They've got halfling to supplement the team from a different team, but actually matches quite well with the yellow, so that's quite good. Won't have to repaint any more there. And Mighty Zug is joining the team, so no ogre on this team because it's quite a common thing to take Zug instead because he's obviously got block and no bonehead. So again, here is the roster. No names for this one. It's just an exhibition game. So we were playing 115 for that one, and so the 4 blitzers were guard, guard, and guard. So tackle, mighty blow, and then 2 block catchers to give them that extra reliability, and the thrower in there with the 2+ passing, which is an exciting new thing. So he had 12 players and I had 11. So what I've basically done is recorded the game, and then I just recorded without sound, and then I'm just going to talk through it. And I've edited it a bit to take out some of the bits where someone was thinking. So we started with the fan factor. No, started with, yes, called fan factor. So started with the fan factor, just roll off for dedicated fans and then write that down somewhere. And then here we did, because it's less chance of a draw, we did 3d6 to see who'd kick off. So I scored a mighty 15 there to see who would kick off. The setup, so I went for the asymmetric setup, which I quite like because it means you can run around the side and it sort of pushes his big guys over to the side sometimes. Not massively important against humans because they're pretty speedy anyway. And he put Zug down the bottom here, ready to blitz my guys. I do zoom in a bit later because I appreciate this is a bit far out at the moment, just to get the whole pitch in, but obviously can zoom in. Kickoff was a 2, which is still get the ref. So we got a bribe each, represented by referee models. So that's sort of one use for the ones that came in the box. I didn't use the ones that came in the box, but had some already available. So scatter to there, and then he was going first and eating a gingerbread man at the same time. So on the line, we've got 3 zombies there. 3 zombies in the middle, and he's just blitzing, blocking. So he's got his 3 blitzers on the line. So 2 guard there gives the 2 dice straight away. He did acknowledge that he should have had some extra players there, and he was just hoping for the knockdowns basically, because he's going to hit this one in the middle next. And that means that if he didn't get the knockdown, then he would just he would not have been able to hit him again. So it's generally better to have it so that you can hit along the line rather than just hitting down. I've just noticed that I'm not capturing the cursor. So normally when I play on fumble games, I can point at the thing and then capture the cursor, but the way this is working, I don't think I've got the technology to do that. But that's all right, I'll just have to talk it through. In fact, that's what the grid was for. So we've got the action at the top of the line of scrimmage at the moment. So we're talking row, what's that, row J or something? So yeah, row J. So he's going for the pickup here, which he made. Did get a little bit of stick for not protecting the ball carrier at all before doing the pickup, because my ghoul that's on row 9 could have gone round and collected the ball. So if he'd had an unhelpful bounce, that could have been a bit disastrous. So good idea to do your moves first. So he could have brought another ghoul round to protect the ball first, but chose not to do so. So it was only a 1 in 9 chance of failing because it's a 3+ with a reroll, but he got away with that. That's good news. And this is probably me pointing out to him that he should have done something different, because people love that sort of thing. So then, yes, so pointing at the board. So this is a homemade board. It's a 40mm one, because next time I stream tabletop, I'm planning to have some 40mm bases coloured in to make it really obvious which team is which, and which will hopefully improve the experience. Here comes Zug. So Zug gets into some serious fisticuffs with this flesh golem all the way through. Flesh golem's now armor 10+, so tricky to hurt and stand firm as well. So and basically hit them, they fall down, they stand up, they hit them, they fall down, they stand up. And it's a 1 in 6 chance, and slightly more than 1 in 6 because of Mighty Blow. But he did not hurt him on this occasion. Actually, it doesn't hurt him all the way through the half, unfortunately for him. Fortunately for me. So all he's got left to do now, so he's still got that. So he's done all his hits, and what he's doing now is going to bring the catcher forward, I think, because with the 2+ throwing game, he's now got makes it a bit of a better, makes the human throwing team a bit better, basically. So I think he's just going to protect the ball carrier. So he's counting out the squares there for the ghoul to be able to reach. I'm just turning over my pumpkin head because they were not stunned. So no armor breaks from him on the first one. And I protected my ghouls and my... Did I protect? Oh yeah, I protected the ghouls and the werewolves. So I kept the wraiths and the golems on the second line of defense, and then the werewolves and the ghouls on the third line of defense. So that they can get hit on the first turn. So yeah, so the wraith's getting hit. So we've got this foul appearance thing going on at the moment. Haven't quite got to the bottom of whether if you fail your foul appearance roll, do you lose your entire blitz or just the blocking part of it? Because the theory is that you roll at the beginning when you nominate the target, I think. So we'll get to the bottom of that at some point. So it's a funny one because I'm perfectly happy to rule on most things for the league, but I haven't decided which way to rule on for foul appearance yet. So do you roll the foul appearance, and if you fail it, you can't blitz at all, or do you roll the foul appearance and then you can't do the blocking part, but you can move the player, even though if you can't block at the end of it. So we'll see what happens with there. Right, so I'm just so this is a frenzy. Oh, I said it was Mighty Blow, but it wasn't actually. It was frenzy. Oh, how irritating. All right, we'll come back to that later. So his blitzer with the red, I thought was Mighty Blow, but actually it was frenzy, which I quite like. So my werewolf comes and blitzes, and then looking for the armor break, but doesn't get it. And then end of turn. Well, not quite an end of turn. Players stand up. So my pumpkins stood up, my golem stood up, and so I've just got to decide what to do with the ghoul and the wraith on. I get the hang of this. E, F, G, H, I, J, K. So E, F, G, H, I, J. So K is the top of the line of scrimmage, basically, and D and E is the bottom of the line of scrimmage. So E to K is the line of scrimmage there. And I'm just going to leave that ghoul in the middle to see, or is it a werewolf? Just going to leave that werewolf in the middle to see what he wants to do. Just I'm going to engage the wraith and engage the golem, just to make life difficult for his blitzer on row K. His turn 2. So he's got a catcher forward, but I'm not worried about him scoring. So he could score with the catcher if he wanted to, the one who's on column 8. So obviously catcher's got move 8, so he could run in, but that would have to be, he'd have to take out the werewolf. But then it would only be a 3-up dodge to score if he managed to power the werewolf down. So that would be a reasonable option actually, because he could make it a reasonable throw. I think it would be a 3+ throw with a reroll, and then 3+ catch, and then a 3+ dodge, all of which with protected rerolls. Zug's doing the hit. So Zug's got a 1 in 36 chance of sculling out. So obviously there is a problem. Golem stands firm. So there's a problem if the golem dies, but I figured it was worth the risk to keep Zug out of mischief for a while. Zug is not breaking armor. So question now. So I brought my ghoul in, the one on row 11, I brought in next to the lineman. One thing with the new Necro team is they've only got 4 ball carriers. Normally, if a player has blodge, then I'm fairly reasonably comfortable, unless they're war dancers or super valuable pieces. Like if a ghoul had block, then I would be normally fairly comfortable about basing a player if they didn't have tackle. But actually it was fine. So what happened then was he brought his blitzer around the one with tackle and took me down, and then has broken armor on him, and actually manages to KO, I think, the ghoul. So that's one player out. Quite an important one actually. It's not KO. That's an injury, I think, possibly. Oh no, it's KO. So really good if you're playing against the Necro team. More important than ever to target those strength 3 pieces, because the wraiths have got no hands now, so no good for whites. Obviously used to be an extra ball carrier, but no more. So it's those ghouls and whites that are troll. Bit of thinking time now. So he's blitzed with the tackle blitzer, so he's used his blitz, and so he's just moving the rest of his players now. He's not going for the score this turn, so he's going to cage up the thrower there. And just bring around a bit of protection. Halfling on row 11, column 11 is the one on the small base. And now he's just dodging away the catcher on a 3+. Fails that one, got dodge reroll, and fails again, so falls over. So he's left a blitz threat from the werewolf on column 7. So that will be a go for it needed to blitz the ball carrier. So that's the obvious play to do. There would be a frenzy trap there because it would be a 1 dice and then need another go for it for the second hit with the frenzy, and that would give 2 dice his choice. But you don't get that many chances usually to hit the ball carrier, so I figure if you've got a chance with a 50-50 of knocking them over, then that's worth a go, I think. Golem stands up next to Zug, doing his job. Just coming around and marking the blitzer. So the golem had 3 dice on the blitzer at the beginning because he had strength 4 with 3 assists, so giving him strength 7. So all I need to decide now basically is what to do with my players. That's him pointing out the frenzy trap. So all I've got to do now is decide what to do with my players before I do the blitz. So I'm just bringing them around. So I'm putting a couple of players onto his blitzer. Oh no, bringing 2 assists in so the Pumpkinhead can get the hit, and follows up. So he had 1 assist, the player at F12, and so I needed to bring 2 assists in to make it a 2 dice hit. Yeah, because his G12, no, his G12 was providing assist. So coming in a foul here because I got to get the ref, but 5, 6, 7, 8, so that failed the foul. I'm not worried about the frenzy, and here comes the blitzer. Not worried about the frenzy because basically the players. So that's a 1, and I'm thinking about whether to use a reroll here, but it's a werewolf who's the best player on my team. It's only turn 2. I've got 3 rerolls, which are the big dice in my reserves box. And so I use the reroll and I roll another one. So just managed to fail that, go for it with a reroll. Disappointing to say the least. Werewolf goes down, does not break armor, so not too bad, but it's his turn 3 now. So I took out a bit of thinking time, but basically he's got a bit of pondering to do now because he's got a few different options. I've left a sort of channel, which isn't very sensible, in between Zug and his prone blitzer. So I've actually left a massive gap on row C. He stands the blitzer up because he's not worried about him being frenzied off the pitch from this position because the werewolf is on row B, so can't frenzy from there without a bit of faffing about. Obviously, I could if I put players on B9 and C9, I could frenzy the blitzer off the pitch, but that would be a big commitment of sort of pieces that I don't actually have. So plan here, I think, is for him to. You think he's going to put a catcher forward and rely on Blodge to keep him alive, and then cage the thrower up still in his own half. He doesn't need to get the ball down that into that half this turn. So a little bit of punching to start with. So it's quite a common thing is to put a dice where you think you might want the player to be, so you count it out and then put a player there and then sort of think things through. So you see that done in tournaments quite a lot. It's perfectly standard. In Blood Bowl, you can measure as much as you want. There's no guessing of ranges or anything like that. Quite a tactical, nice game from that point of view. So what's he got? So at the moment he's got a cage. He's got sort of half a cage now, with the thrower in the middle with the ball, and then a halfling and a lineman next to it, and then he's dodging away with the blitzer. Failed the dodge there. So he was using 3 reroll counters and then removing one at a time as he used it. Made the reroll, and so I've switched to doing that as well. So I've now got 2 rerolls, which you can see at the top. My turn 3. Right, I'm going to pause at this stage. So basically, he has got the corner of a cage on row A, B, C, D, E, row G, but I've got 3 players on my column 10, and so I can get some chain pushing going on, which is quite nice. If I had the power to zoom in, I would do so, but don't have that power at the moment. So just a couple of blocks to start with, or just one maybe. But basically, my aim here is to chain push the halfling away from the corner of the cage. Because if I can do that, I should be able to get someone standing next to the ball carrier. I'm blitzing the ball carrier, sorry. The only fly in the ointment slightly is his blitzer on A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and on I-12, because that blitzer's got guard. So at the moment, it's just going to be a 2 dice block if I can get a player into H. And that's right in the middle. So if I can get if I blitz from H12, then that'll be a 2 dice uphill because my flesh golem can't reach. But basically, what I'm doing at the moment is just thinking about the best way to get this to work. So the wraith comes in there. The wraith's got sidestep, but you always have the option not to use sidestep if wanted. Although it might be quite handy in this position. In fact, it would have been really handy because the wraith has guard. But I can't push the wraith because I need to push the halfling. Because the halfling is the corner of the cage that I don't want anymore. So the top pumpkin, top lineman, zombie. So that's so I haven't knocked him over, but I have rolled a push. But that was my plan A was to get a POW and then be able to push the halfling away straight away. But actually, a push is in some ways better because I can go for plan B, which is what I'm about to do. So we're just when we play like friendly games like this, we do talk about tactics quite a lot. So you don't necessarily have to play to the best of your ability. You don't have to necessarily play hardcore to win. The aim is to play sort of well. And so we were just talking about the various chain push options. So I chain pushed, hold on, pause it a second. So I chain pushed the player to E12, which meant that when the Wraith on E10, sorry, F10 can block, that means that I've got another chance to chain push the halfling away in it. So again, if I roll a POW, then he'll be down and I can just walk in and blitz the ball carrier. But again, it will be 2 dice uphill. So I got a POW, so I managed to push the halfling back. So the POW is good, so I can definitely blitz the ball carrier now because I haven't used it. I've only got a zombie to blitz with, so yeah, 2 dice uphill. So that's not ideal, but better than nothing. But happily, I managed to get a roll of 10 on armor, and then a 8 for injury, so that's a KO. So actually, I've now got a gap. So now I've got a 1 dice blitz on the ball carrier. So the question is, do I want to do anything else before I do that? So the big question actually is, do I want to move the werewolf before I do anything with the... So here I've got a blitz on the ball carrier, but I've got a werewolf at his C11, away C11, I guess. And so there's always a question, do you stand the prone player up so that he's more useful on the next turn, or do you leave him prone in case? So if the ball bounced out, for example, to his G10, then the werewolf could go in and at least mark the ball, if not try and pick it up. So on this occasion, I'm going to leave the werewolf prone, although bringing it around to somewhere like G9 might have been more sensible, because then if I was only going to mark the ball anyway, then having the werewolf standing up and standing beside the ball would have been a good idea. So here's the blitz with the zombie, no skills, so just a 1 dice block on the thrower who also has no skills. I get both down, which is fine, so I'm not going to reroll that because it means that the ball is loose. Don't break armor, and he doesn't break my armor either. And then the ball bounces to whatever that was, 2. So turnover, because my player has gone prone, and his turn 4. So he's now got a catcher on H7. I need to remember that H is the middle of the board. Can work it out from there. So he's got a catcher at H7 who's marked by 2 of my players. But if he can get the ghoul away, the ghoul is on the scatter, is on the sort of magic square, which is what the X is for. That's the center of the pitch. So if he can get that ghoul away, then the catcher's got a reasonably decent chance of running in. Zug's still doing his thing, so Zug is beating up the flesh column, but failing to break arm every single time. So he's hit him 4 times now, because it's his turn 4, and he's hit him every turn. So here comes the assist. So that's another catcher providing an assist, so that I think the blitzer. So one of the blitzers certainly is going to come and hit. So I think the blitzer who's prone on B9 is going to come and blitz. Which will mean that the thrower can stand up and chuck the ball to the catcher, who's then got a 3-up dodge out. So it will be it's going to be a 4-up catch, because the catcher's still going to be in a tackle zone, but it's got a 75% chance of working. So playing slightly risky blob. Oh no, right, okay, so he's dodging out with there. So this is the there's the reroll gone on the blitzer dodge. So this is the non-tackle blitz. Oh no, this is the tackle blitz, so the frenzy blitz is on the floor. So the tackle blitz is coming round and knocks down. So that's good news. And now he's got tackle on the catcher as well. So the catcher's not going to be, sorry, the ghoul. So the ghoul's not going to be dodging out. Broke the armor actually. and that is an injury. So that's an absolute bonus. Didn't need that at all for the score, but managed to. So he's got both of my ghouls off the pitch now. So I've only got werewolves left as ball carriers. Thrower stands up and picks up the ball on threes. Failed the pickup. He's got sure hands. And goes over there. So the reason he went over there, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that is a short pass still. Sorry, there was a bit of a cut there. So he was deciding whether to throw from column H or whether to throw from HIJK to column K. And he went for column K. It's still a short pass because it's 6 and 3, but he thought that a flesh golem intercepting the ball would be more entertaining than a zombie. Not sure why. Failed the throw, and then made the reroll. Failed the interception because you do interceptions after passes now, and then failed the catch, and then failed the reroll catch as well, so the catch skill. So he had a reroll on all the things. He had a reroll on the sure hands to pick up, he had a reroll on the pass, had a reroll on the catch. He used all the rerolls, but didn't manage to catch the ball at the end. So it's my turn 4. So a reasonable probability of working there, but quite often as an accumulator wasn't great because one of those things could go wrong. So on the odds were reasonably good. That's me breaking armor on that blitzer, and then 8 is a KO. So a few players off the pitch, that's handy. So I've still got half a drive left to go, half, a quarter, I suppose. So obviously I want to so I've got this werewolf down the bottom on B8 who can come and pick the ball up. So I'm just going to clear players away from the ball to start with. Got 2 guard wraiths coming back, which gives the zombie 3 dice block on the catcher. So just got to push back there, no need to follow up. And then bringing another zombie round to mark, standing up a few players. Can blitz with the werewolf. So comes over and blitzes. Trying to take out halflings, so frenzy. So 2 dice to start with, and then 2 dice going into 3 dice. But halflings are indestructible. So even though I rolled stumbles, obviously the halflings got dodge, and I don't have tackle. So there was no both down, and there was no pows. So the halfling lived to fight another day. The werewolf then made the pickup, so that's good news. I've still got 2 werewolves with agility 3, and obviously they got move 8, so plenty of time to make their way up the pitch. And then that's a reasonable cage of standing next to a wraith with guard on one side and a free zombie on the other side. So I reckon his chances of getting anything better than 2 dice my choice are not very good. So Zug hits again. Start each turn with start mean to go on, Zug hitting a golem and not hurting him. So then we did a zoom in because I figured out that zooming in was a good idea. So I'll figure that out for next time a bit better. So obviously you can see the players a bit better now as to who is who. So the Frenzy Blitzer moves away from the sidelines, gets back into the game a bit. Zug is still down the bottom. Zug's only got move 4, so I should be able to run away from Zug, hopefully, fairly surely. Actually, there's no need because the golem just keeps standing up and getting hit. So golems are obviously quite expensive. I'd rather be getting hit with a zombie each time. But zombies obviously got more chance of getting hurt. This is what zombies are good for, generally tagging good players until they get hurt. So he's going for the 2 dice uphill block and managed to roll a double skulls on that one. So there we go. There is the double skulls, but it was a 2 dice uphill block, so it's not a real double skulls, I don't think, because you only needed 1 skull for it to be a bad thing. Didn't use a reroll on that one. Obviously, the downside of zooming in is the reroll's gone. What I do sometimes is have a little marker around somewhere to show how many rerolls we're on and how many turns. So I'll get that going for next time, I think. Dust that off. That was made by Krista, actually, of Fumble fame, which is very nice of him. And it's a little app that just shows how many turns and rerolls people are on. It's a bit fiddly playing at the same time, but but you only tend to do stuff in between turns, so it's not that difficult to remember. Doesn't interfere too much. So zooming out again now, because I'm moving up the pitch. Werewolf blocks the thrower. The thrower doesn't have blocks, so takes them both down and goes down. Oh, breaks armor on a 12, so didn't even need the claw, and just stuns the thrower there. Both down, so he didn't move backwards, and then the werewolf can just carry on moving. And now I can make some progress up the pitch. So I was counting out there where the blitzer could get to, and was thinking about where my cage needed to be, basically. So just a bit of hitting going on down there. Which frees up that wraith. So useful to have a guard wraith next to the ball carrier. And then the zombie was free to move over there. So it's more of a screen than a cage, but absolutely doing the job. Catcher stands up and just sort of lurks to make himself slightly troublesome. So he's forming a screen now, so he's going to come around and so blitz that zombie who's just there. Zug does his thing first. Hits the golem. Doesn't hurt him. Came closer that time though. So his plan here is to blitz the zombie back and then just form a screen so that avoid the werewolf just running down the pitch. So there's the blitz, and that's part of the screen in place. And then he's going to bring the thrower on column G, sorry, row G, down with a go for it. Giving up on the dice cup at this stage. Halfling dodges away and sort of stands in the way, and then catcher dodging away successfully on 3+. So tricky to know what to do. Sometimes players just end up out of position, basically. So what I was worrying about actually here was him putting a load of players near the halfling. So I'd have put that catcher near the halfling. But I was only worried about that because I knew what my next plan was. So basically I'm going to go back to the center now. And the werewolf should be able to get reasonably safe, basically. So the only thing standing between the werewolf and the sort of nice, juicy center is the halfling. So I'm going to clear the halfling out. So I've got a golem there, so I brought the assist in so that the golem then had 3 dice on the halfling, and got a pow, knock him down. Realise I can't see the dice anymore, but the halfling did not break armor because halflings are made of steel generally. So at this point I realised that I've put the golem in the way because I hadn't rolled any dice after moving the golem. I swapped him over. So it's written in the rule book now that you're allowed to do that, and that your opponent is supposed to be nice and sporting. And so the werewolf ran over there, failed his first go for it. So didn't go for the second go for it. So because the werewolf, I'm sorry, distracted by Facebook for a second. So because the werewolf failed the first go for it and had to use a reroll, I decided not to go for the second go for it. So the werewolf is still in range of the blitzer who's on um, M9. So he can reach the werewolf with a go for it and a two go for it. Second go for it for the hit. So basically, I wouldn't normally have stood that werewolf up because he's in risk of getting damaged, and werewolf's quite valuable. So I left it for a bit before standing the werewolf up, but then it was necessary to stand the werewolf up so that the blitzer would have to dodge away, basically, in order to reach. Zug can't reach, so it's just the blitzer who's left now. So I forgot about the zooming, which is when there's another zoom. So yeah, if I'd remembered about the zooming, then I'd have used the turn marker and the reroll marker from the beginning. But we are where we are. Streaming tabletop is hard. But here's my latest effort. My next effort will be better, actually. So I've got some cool counters coming, which will show easily which team is which, hopefully. Yeah, so what I did here was obviously I recorded, and then I'm playing it back in media. Right, here comes the blitz. Last reroll on failed because of the failed dodge, and roll a 1 again. So blitzer down, my turn 6. So on my next go, I'm just going to put the werewolf into space because there's no point in me scoring on my turn 7. So this is the stalling that people get so worked up about sometimes. But basically, there'd be no point in me scoring on turn 7 because that would just give him a turn to score back, possibly a turn just to beat up my players. And also he's got plenty of KOs, so that would give him 2 lots of KO rolls. So if I score on my turn 8, that basically means that he's got he doesn't get another turn in the half, so we do 1 load of KO rolls. So a bit of punching now, werewolf. So Zug's gone down, so the golem's finally getting his revenge with a couple of mates. We've still got a bribe because that hasn't been used yet. So Zug is going to get a kick to the head in a minute. I've put my werewolf into space. The catcher can still actually reach the werewolf, but that would be a 2 dice my choice block. I'm going to mark the catcher as well so that we need a dodge. And also the werewolf should be capable of blitzing out because I think I've still got a reroll as well. So so basically I'm not worried about the catcher threat blitzing my player. So I'm going to mark the catcher, hope, before I foul Zug. Only got move 4 on that one, so just able to mark from there rather than. So obviously a better marking position would have been on row E, but because he only had 4 move, can't even remember if I had a reroll left at this stage, but because I only had 4 moves, so I just stood on their diagonal. So obviously if I'd been able to stand on the straight in front of him, then that would have been a 4-up dodge and then a 3-up dodge instead of just the 3-up, and that would have made it even safer. Just a 2 dice block on the catcher at the bottom from the zombie, and then here comes the foul, +3 on the foul, but pretty rubbish, a 2 and a 1. It's not great. There's the werewolf. Realised that I needed to zoom out in order to be able to see it. So catcher on column 11 can just about reach, and that's the only thing he's got. So I think he goes for that straight away. So it makes the dodge, and that's 8 squares down to there, and then the first go for it, and then the second go for it. Fails the second go for it, which he needed for the blitz, and so then I can just stroll in the werewolf on my turn 8. So we're getting a bit lax with the turn counters here. Obviously it should be his turn 8 on this one, and then it should go to my turn 8 in a minute. KO'd the catcher there. Obviously they get the KO rolls back in a minute. He's got 12 players. It was his turn 8, obviously. And so my turn 8, because it's a friendly match. So ironically, because it's a friendly match, I go for the foul first, because I've got the bribe still. So in a competition, I wouldn't risk the 1 in 36 basically of getting sent off. It's not exactly 1 in 36, but approximately. So made it through the armor there without a sending off, because no double, and then stunned Zug. I haven't got any reroll left actually, but I am going to go for the 3 dice block with block, because the halfling is there. So that's definitely worth hitting. So I'm just sort of counting out. Actually, it's not the. Is it the golem who's going to do the hit? Someone else. Someone with 3 dice with block, basically. Just figuring out who's gone. Oh, so it's not even. No, it's on a blitzer. No, it's on the thrower. Sorry. So 3 assists on the thrower, making it a 3 dice block because of strength 7 against strength 3 through the armor. So this might have been worthwhile, absolutely, but only a stun. 2 and a 1 for the stun. And then walk in the werewolf, and then that's half time. So time for some KO rolls. Couple come back. Going into the second half now. So second half, my ghoul didn't come back, so I'm down to 9 players, and only 2 sort of strength 3 ball carriers. So I have to have one of my werewolves at the back. I'd prefer to have both werewolves on the line to use their block and their claw to try and reduce his numbers further. Well, he's got 10 as well, so he's got 2 players still out, so it's 10 against 10 in the second half. Zombie, so the ball scatters to the zombie. We still both got a bribe because I didn't get sent off. I don't think he fouled in the first half very much, if at all. So 3 was riot, so we both move forward a square. So it's not called riot anymore. It's called something else, but the equivalent of riot, whatever 3 is on the kickoff table. So it should be a slightly shorter second half. So it's now my turn 2. Zombie caught the ball. It's always a bit of a danger when a slightly rubbish player catches the ball. One of my worst Blood Bowling moments was when I lost a game at Eurobowl because my flesh golem caught the ball and then I didn't hand off to the ghoul ridiculously, and then I ended up losing because my flesh golem got bogged down. So sad times happen. So doing a bit of hitting, didn't do that very well actually, because I'm going to end up pushing this zombie back, I think now. Not zombie, pushing this lineman back rather than along the line. So basically I should have hit with a different player first, I think, basically. So a bit of zooming in, which is the downside, is I can't see the dice anymore. So knock that player down. That was the follow-up that I shouldn't have done. So that golem shouldn't have followed up, because basically if I'd left that golem where he was, there would have been a space on row H because this is going to be a push now, and I end up pushing that player back into space rather than being able to hit him again for free. So the only way I can hit that player again is in fact, that was a 3 dice block, and I managed to roll 2 both downs and a skull. So I had to use the reroll there, pretty much. But now it means that I have to blitz. But before I do that, I'm just going to move some players around, and so I'm going to keep the ball on the zombie for the moment. And then here comes the blitz from I think it's from the werewolf. Moving the camera over as well as the zoom. Get the hang of using the camera soon. So next purchase is going to be a big light, so that I can see what's going on a bit better. I don't think I necessarily need a better camera, but I think a big light would help, and I think my bases will help. So fingers crossed. Basically, I'm getting a bit more keener on streaming tabletop now because I do lots of fumble, obviously, and there is lots and lots of cyanide streaming around, but those are different rules now. So Blood Bowl 20, the only way to get Blood Bowl 20 up-to-date rules at the moment, until Blood Bowl 3 is out or Fumble moves over, is to stream tabletop. So hopefully there's a bit more of an interest in it. So getting into a bit of a scrum in the middle of the pitch now. So he's stacked one side of the pitch quite a lot on this occasion. So obviously that indicates to me that I should move around the other side. Doesn't make a huge amount of difference because he's fast enough to move over. But absolutely the most sensible thing to do is to generally move away from the players that are in the way. My turn 3, so I'm just punching Zug to start with. When in doubt, punch Zug. That looked like I moved 7 then, but I don't think I did. Oh yes, no, I did move 7. Did the go for it, I think. So I had to go for it because this is the guard wraith basically. So slightly unnecessary go for it perhaps there. So could have gone wrong. But 1 in 36 is okay. Try and avoid them if you can, but they're usually all right. So I'm gonna move the zombie over. In a minute. So blitzing the halfling because they deserve it, but didn't knock him down the first time, and then got both down the second time. So used block to do it. So I'm going to bring the zombie over. I'm not going to get a perfect cage around it, so I'm actually leaving the 2 dice uphill blitz from the catcher if he wants it, just because it's not got a brilliant chance of working. So, and I figure I can always get the ball back afterwards. It's not perfect play actually, so might have done something slightly different in a tournament. I protected the ball carrier. I may have even handed off by this stage. So the way I play is obviously dependent if it's a league game or tournament game as well, probably, because you think about star player points and things like that in a league, whereas you wouldn't necessarily in a tournament. So he's bringing some players around the back now. I think with any, I think generally it's a good idea to keep your players in front of the opposition, sort of whenever you can. If you are numbers up, you can commit some like to the backfield. And actually, he's only put 1 over there for the moment, but I think he's about to push another one in. So catcher's dodging away with dodge. Oh, the catcher's going for the blitz. That's what he's doing. So here comes the 2 dice blitz. Go for it first, and then just gets a push. Doesn't re-roll it because that would be daft. Doesn't follow up because he would be punched a lot if he did that. And then halfling is dodging away. Trying to move lots, but then remembers that he stood up from prone, so just moves to there. Now at this point, this is possibly an error, bringing the catcher around to there, and then bringing the catcher further around. So I don't think I'd have committed that second catcher to the back. So he's now got 3 in the backfield, which means that his front line is very diminished. So on sort of columns 8 and 9, basically there's not very much there for me to run past. So I think if the blitzer and the catcher had stayed back, his defense would have been a lot stronger. So just start off with the 2 dice block on the catcher, which knocks him down. Must have got POW there because I haven't got any tackle on my team. But basically, there's a big gap. If I can take that blitzer out, who's on column 8, just next to the big 1, then I can just stroll through the middle, basically. Remember, it's 1-0 to me at the moment, so fairly comfortable position. 1-0. If you're 1-0 and you're driving, then you're in a happy days position. So every turn that the clock goes down, basically, brings you one turn movement, 1 turn closer to winning. And then if you can obviously get the second touchdown as well, then life is very good. So the only question here is, which player do I do the blitz on the blitzer with? There's a werewolf taking out a lineman there. Lineman then moves forward to provide the assist on the blitzer, and here comes a werewolf blitz, which powers the blitzer down. And stuns the blitzer. And the werewolf can carry on moving, so I'm just forming a cage here. Not a perfect cage, so I'm having to leave the golem in base contact with the blitzer. So obviously golem strength 4, blitzer strength 3, so that would be a 2 dice uphill to take on the golem. And obviously I've got stand firm as well, so he wouldn't be able to push me into a more helpful position. So not the end of the world by any means. So while it's not perfect, I'll take it. So he's bringing in an assist there, and just bringing back, thinking about what the halfling's going to do with his life. So doing the 1 dice block with the assist, manages to knock the golem down, but uses stand firm. So if they didn't have stand firm, then that would have put a guard blitzer next to the ball carrier, and also meant that the thrower would then have had 2 dice on the ball carrier. As it is, he needs to commit more players now, which he hasn't really got many of, standing up in useful places, in order to get a 1 dice on the ball carrier. So he's going for the. So he's at the moment he's got a 2 dice, 2 dice my choice. So this was me forgetting foul appearance. So hitting the wraith, and the wraith has got sidestep, but we forgot foul appearance. Basically, we play if you forget foul appearance, then we don't play it. And it's wraiths are brand new with foul appearance. It's sort of an assumption. So you can either at the beginning of a tournament game, you can either say, if you roll the block without rolling foul appearance, then you negate the foul appearance and you go and you negate the block and you go back and you do the foul appearance again. But because it was just a friendly game, we just skipped it. It was all brand new wraith thing, so I'm going to figure that out. So this is the halfling coming in for the foul on the golem. So actually, the more sensible thing would have been to mark the werewolf with the halfling, and in order to get the 1 dice block on the golem. But he went for the foul because Blood Bowl is fun, and so he's going for another couple of dodges there in order to get a +2 foul on the golem. But sadly falls over at that stage. And this is me demonstrating my new bases, which literally arrived during this game, so not tremendously helpful from a streaming point of view, but there we go. So this is my turn, sort of 4 or 5 now, I think. And the zombie can get in scoring distance at this one, so he's eight squares away. So just 2 lots of 4. So going to move forward the 4 and then cage around him. Obviously, if I was desperate to score at this stage, I could have handed off to the werewolf and run it in. But the zombie caught the ball, so give him that moment of glory. Zombies can hand off. I can't remember if zombies can pass. I think zombies can't pass at the moment in the new rules. Completely missed what happened there because I was talking about zombies. Am I still punching people? Yes, I'm still punching people. So he was just turning some of his players around. Oh yeah, it wasn't his turn yet. Yeah, got confused by him turning players around. So obviously there's no one who can come in and blitz that bottom right-hand corner. So not worried about that. So just moving sort of players in the way, basically. And then a bonus hit with the werewolf on the tackle blitzer. Tackle blitzers tend to be the bane of dodge players' lives, so they become targeted. So that's him off the pitch. And then Zug's getting fouled again. Still got the bribe because the ref wasn't paying attention for most of the game. Fuffing back with Zoom is obviously the best way to spend the time. So he just brings in the assist there and just does a hit. So he didn't have a huge amount of hope at this stage because there was no one really who could blitz the ball carrier. But he did have to put the catcher there in the scoring range just in case. So I could have gone for the stall at this stage probably because this is the sort of thing where if I wasn't 1-0 up already and going to go 2-0 up and we weren't playing a friendly game, then the zombie could on my next turn just move forward 2 squares and just sit with loads of players around him. As it was, it's only my turn 5, but basically I'm just going to do a couple of hits and then run the zombie in. So I'm only doing hits that are reasonably safe, basically. So 2 dice with block. So a 1 in 1, 2, 5, 6 of going wrong. So 1 in 36 times 1 in 36 is 1 in 1,256 chance of going wrong. So not worried about the quad skulls too much, either they do happen. But again, in a tournament game, if scoring a touchdown was vitally important, then I wouldn't be doing these 2 dice blocks. So zombie runs it in, and now he's got what's he got? He's got 3 turns to try and score back, basically. See if the throwers can do some of that throwing stuff. Ball scatters down the bottom. And then brilliant coaching happens, I think. So we get an extra reroll each. Or I get an extra reroll, I think, possibly. Yeah, he rolls a 1, so I get an extra reroll. Which is good news. So basically, I did the asymmetric setup again, which wasn't a particularly good idea in this situation because it meant that he could just stack the bottom. So obviously your defense matters whether you're doing an 8-turn drive or a 3-turn drive, which this is. So in an 8-turn drive, I'm not too worried about conceding one half of the pitch because it should mean that he hasn't got enough players. Either he's leaving your players alone on the side, or you've got enough players to punish him, basically. But in a 3-turn drive, generally a worse idea to concede, depending on if you care if he scores a touchdown or not, I suppose. In this case, I didn't massively care if he scored a touchdown, and it would have been nice. But that's not why I did the asymmetric drive. I did the asymmetric setup just out of habit, whereas it would have been a better tactical idea to do a symmetrical drive with him having to blitz to go through. So you can find various setups online. So he's got the catcher down at the bottom. And basically he's caging the catcher. He's caging the catcher without the ball in the hope that the catcher will be free next turn and to receive the ball and to be able to chuck it in. To run it in, sorry. Ball is unhelpfully 7 squares away from the thrower at the moment, which is making life a little bit more annoying for him. But he's going to move. He's just going to move some players to protect the ball in case I try anything silly. There's the halfling. So that's halfling, that's lineman, isn't it? Halfling is in the middle, just bringing players round, and probably Zug's going to blitz because that's what Zug does. Zug aiming for the flesh golem again, and this time just gets a push. So it doesn't even get to knock him down on this occasion. So here comes the thrower, needs to go for it to get to the ball, manages that, and then gets the pickup, so now has the ball. Werewolf going for it, so I'm going to try and frenzy his blitzer off the pitch, basically. 2 dice into 1 dice. May not be the best tactical play, but it's fun. I like frenzying people off the pitch. So the state of the game as it is at the moment, I decided that was the best thing to do. So 2 dice block, and then 1 dice. I think I skull out the first time. So use a reroll, and then manage to surf him, which is great, but not marking the ball carrier anymore, sadly. And then I've got a guard wraith. So I put both my wraiths on the line this time, partly for their sidestep, but also for foul appearance as well. So there might be occasions where wraiths do end up on the line, and particularly if you manage to get them dodged, then block, dodge, sidestep, foul appearance on the line is fantastic. So obviously you can get them dodged because you can choose a secondary skill if you want to for your 16 star player points or whatever it is that you have to pay for it nowadays. So basically that. So at the moment I've got the zombie on column 6 is standing next to a blitzer and is the only thing standing in the way of the ball carrier of the catcher running it in. So he basically needs to blitz the wraith to block the wraith out of the way because the wraith's got guard. So he wants to get 2 dice on the zombie, which involves having an assist. I'd have gone for the 1 dice, I think, just with the blitzer, because anything but a skull and the zombies out of the way, basically. Well, no, both pushback, because both down would be no good, actually. Be a good blitz with the blitzer, and then you can move the blitzer out of the way as well. But at this stage, he hasn't remembered about sidestep on the wraiths, and I have, so I'm chortling away to myself because I'm hoping that he's going to hit the wraith and push him back, which will mean that it changes from a 1 dice into a 2 dice, my choice. So that's 6, and then go for it. And then the second go for it is failed, but he uses a reroll and manages it. But at this point, also, I'm chortling because he's now used his reroll for the turn, but it turns out that that's not a thing anymore, obviously. So when he pushes back, and then I point out that I've got sidestep and put him there, but then he remembers that you can actually, and neither of us remembered about foul appearance, but then he remembered that you can use 2 rerolls per turn. So he's now about to use his second reroll to pow down my Wraith instead. So now he pows the Wraith, who is down. As in fact off the pitch. The regen fails. It's irrelevant at this stage, obviously. All right, so yeah, so that catches. Right, so that catcher's going in to perform the assist, and he's going to try and score with the back catcher, who's now got a clear run in for it. Doesn't break armor. And then the thrower comes in. He's got a 3+ throw, which rolls a 1, and then a 1 again. So at that point, we decide to call the game because it's just an exhibition game. And so finishing on a snake eyes, rather unfortunate, but it didn't matter if it was going to be 2-0 to me or 3-0 to me if I pull some silliness off. So we decide to call it a day there. So I hope you enjoyed that one. As you say, I will be streaming more tabletop over the next sort of few weeks, months, whatever, and trying to improve the quality each time, because I'm aware, obviously, it's not perfect, but better than nothing. That's my aim. Cheers.